That roof is on fire. Oh, we gonna take it high.
Just start this. I'll just use last week's stuff because that actually does answer your question. Remember last week where we had the, let me just make sure I'm not connected. Yeah. Remember last time that we had the metropolitan one, where they had a metropolitan inside of a province. Can you see on that side? But a metropolitan inside of a province. Yeah, a metropolitan inside of a province class. We saw that because this was an array of metropolitan classes, there was some way that we needed to redeem it. Yeah. So what we did is that we redeemed it inside of the constructor of the outer class, which is the province class. Because you remember the thing that I was saying, in order for you to get to the inner class, you have to pass the outer class. So when you are trying to, let me just take a step back. Okay. The reason that we are redeeming it inside of the constructor of the outer class is because we want this metropolitan city to be associated with a province. We want that when we create a province, that it has this metropolitan city inside of it. We want to associate the two of them. But if we want to associate the two of them, that means that the constructor has to include the two of them. Because if we just call the constructor for metropolitan alone, that's fine, but now it's not associated with the province at all. Do you get what I mean? Because if I just call this constructor alone, it's fine, it will exist. But this is just a metropolitan, it doesn't do anything. But if I have a metropolitan inside of the province, I know that this metropolitan area is inside of this province. Those two things are associated. But the other thing is that if it's inside of this province class, this means that the only way I can get to the metropolitan is by going through the province class, which is why we have the redeeming happening in the constructor of the province class. Because we want that when we create a province, we immediately take the number of metropolitan areas that we want and redeem it once. Because remember the exercise that we did had said that there was the same number of areas for each province. Same exact thing happens here. So we know that the areas is going to remain the same. So we might as well just redeem the arrays one time. So that we know that for every metropolitan that is associated with a province, the number stays consistent. It's redeemed to a consistent, consistent size and has the same number of areas. Yeah. That makes sense? Does that make sense? Yeah. So if you, if you are redeeming for something that's inside of the class, you have to do it inside of the constructor usually, especially if it is a class within a class. Because in order for you to get to that inner class, you have to pass the outer one. So if you have anything that has an array and it's a class within a class, you have to pass it through the constructor. But if you have just a normal array, but it's not a class, yeah, maybe it's just like this. Maybe this was an integer. Let me change it like this, just to, let me just put another one here. Hard. Integer. If you have this, like just a normal integer array, you can also redeem it here. You can, but because it's not necessary, you don't need to. You know what I mean? That's why you have these setters and getters. That's where you can now get a value and then have that value redeem the array. But because we don't want this array, because it's just an attribute, it's not a class within a class, it'll always be associated with it. Because the only way that you can access it is through that province. So here you can redeem it here, or you can redeem it at the bottom, like within your buttons. You get what I mean? Yeah. Okay, so yeah. Oh yeah, what was the second question? The first one? The validation. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so okay, just rephrase your question. Validation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's say one is doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to validate, say if the input is this time 0, then display a message with the invalid student. So I want to know which is it the right way to code? Because for example, when it comes to displaying things here, it's between the form and the user. So when I want to put it inside the class as guide.
So this
I don't
is
know if you guys you understand the name. Understand? I just need four men. You can use a name. So if form is responsible guy use message, which if we enter invalid number, if forms will use of display message and invalid number. So learn is putting on my class. So my class like a campus store. So thereby the class is name. We are setting which we are building something. Names is going to be this. So I want to put my validation statement inside the construct. And then at the same time display something. So I want to know which is the right thing to do. Is it the right thing to do?
no, you can't do that
You can't do that.
because
But I tried doing it. It does.
it works, yes, but it's
I'm
wrong. It's wrong for a reason. I'll tell you why. But yeah,
Don't you do validation inside like that?
you would do it inside of the property, but also the property that's only afterwards because you can only validate after you get the thing. But he's already gotten the thing, so he already validating the constructor. But that's wrong from the start because it's let me say it's not wrong in the sense that it won't work. It will work. But when we have validation for stuff, we usually try to validate it immediately as we receive it. Because if you pass it through the constructor, and we are going to get information from the user, and then you're going to pass it inside of this constructor here. You can put it here as well. It'll make more sense for you to put your validation here instead of immediately going to the constructor and then now having to validate because now you capture that information. You get what I mean? It's kind of like doing an extra step just to get back to the first one. Because the first step would have the user input that data and then it will be passed to the constructor. The constructor would validate it. If it does wrong, it would pass it back. That does make sense now. But now you don't need to pass it to the constructor if it's wrong. Why would you pass it to the constructor if it's wrong? It's kind of like if you are entering a password for something, it's not gonna let you continuously enter passwords just in there. It's gonna check it, right? It's not gonna show you the homepage if the password is wrong. It's not gonna like load up the homepage and then find out that the password is wrong. If your password is wrong, it immediately checks, it stops you right there, and then you restart. That's usually the way that validation would work as well, where you'd have what's it called? Your validation happening immediately as you get that data, because that just prevents any problems. Because, for example, if maybe here's a good example. If maybe you have a word, a string specifically, you want the string to be 6 letters long. You are gonna make your string be 6 letters long because you can do that. What if, for example, a person puts 5 letters in a space? Now it's going to go to your constructor, go and check. Technically, 6 spaces are taken. What do you do then? Because technically 6 spaces are taken. It would make complete sense for it to capture that information. But now you are taking all of that data that is wrong from the start, going to see if you can construct something, finding out that it's wrong, stopping that, and then coming back to say that they're wrong. It's not wrong in the sense that it won't work. It definitely does work, but it would make more sense for it to happen immediately here. Because also another thing, if you are a user inputting all of this information about like a metropolitan, let me go here actually. This is a good example. Let me just see. Okay, now it's going to be up there. If you're a user putting this information about a metropolitan city, for example, you need to put every single thing that's in the constructor first. So now imagine the only thing that's wrong is the first thing. Everything else still had to be filled in. But the only thing that was wrong was the first thing. Do you see what I mean? You see what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's not wrong. It's just more preferred for you to immediately get your information and then do a check. You get what I mean? You get what I mean? Yeah. So in regards to that, you can do it. It makes sense for you to do it because that would ensure every time that they input stuff that like before the thing gets created that it gets checked. You can do it, but it's just not preferred to. It's not preferred to. Because the other thing that you're going to be doing is that you're now going to have your validation check happening inside of your constructor and then happening again inside of your getter and setter. It's a lot more extra stuff, to be honest, in regards to like the class functions specifically in this case. Because if you validate this happens outside of the class at first. I mean, if you put your validation inside of, this is inside the class, but imagine this is a function, it was getting the user's information. This would be happening outside of the class. We have a function that is outside of the class. If you are now going to add that validation inside the constructor, you're now having this functionality that's attached to that class. It's not wrong, but you are still having the exact same functionality again in your getters and setters. So it's kind of like a if and situation. It's not wrong, but it's just not preferred really. But yeah. Is that good? Are you all good? Do you have any guys?
So
Hmm?
this is me validating the
Okay. What are you validating?
okay. It's when the user is putting in marks for practicals.
Okay.
And then here I'm saying that if the user has to put a number between 1 and 100 or else return 0. And then the person who was marking for me said that they almost penalized me for returning 0 instead of like putting out a message box, a message saying the thingy that you put is invalid. So, but they don't allow us to put message box and stuff like that inside the class. How do I go about that?
Wait, it depends on how this practical was done. So you're getting multiple marks, is what I'm assuming. So I assume it's like the way that the practicals work, you're getting multiple marks. And then it's saying that if you have a number that's less than 0 or, sorry, has the number containing 0. Wait. Yeah, so yeah, less than 0, less than, greater than 100, fine. Then you are returning. Okay. So, oh wait, are you asking the reason why he said so?
No, I want to know
How would you do that?
return a message posting that the number that you put is invalid, or please put a valid number instead of just returning 0.
Okay, and you said that they don't allow you to put message boxes inside.
Message boxes, text boxes, anything like that in the class.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, you're not supposed to.
They said they're gonna give us 0 if we do that.
Yeah, because that's the thing that I was explaining last week, where it's like if you have a text box that's associated with the class, if you don't have that exact same text box name when you're running the program, it's not going to be understood. Oh, the reason, sorry, I don't think you were here. The reason why you shouldn't have, well, I would disagree about the message box thing, but it's more like
This is what I do. I create a function that's dates and then just put it in. I don't know.
wait. Can I check the rubric? It'll very much depend on the practical and the rubric. Oh. This thing you on. Okay, but let me just check as well, just to see. Let me see that thing. Okay, you're gonna modernize manual systems, gonna make a car, and then okay. So it's just a singular thing. So a branch. Okay, so you have a branch, and then you have a car. Those are the two classes that you have. It's fine. And then what does it say? Solution should what? All services must tasked with designing and facilitate the management of the rental fleet data. It should adhere to good programming principles, ensure that the code is easy to read and maintain. With the exception of question 1, the code should answer each question in speed. Okay. So this is also why they're gonna mark you wrong. Excessive modularity. Excessive modularity is when you have everything compartmentalized. Compartmentalizing meaning putting it in its own place. Like a wardrobe, it has compartments. So if you put everything in its own singular place and then only connect them very vaguely, it's fine to an extent, But if you do it excessively, they will mark you for it. And that's one of the reasons that they might mark you down for having this function that you're using everywhere. Not that I'm 100% sure that they will, but it is a case because no, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying 100% that it will happen. But I'm saying that it can if you have, because what they're trying to teach you is to be able to implement functions that are associated with classes, because that's what classes are for. Why do you have a function outside if you're going to be using it in one class?
It's the class.
Oh, this is inside the
It's
class.
in the class. It just works in the class, not out.
I thought it was outside. Okay,
It's not outside.
okay, wait, can I see the class then? Okay, so this is the student class. Okay. Oh, these aren't the same thing.
No.
Oh, okay.
Class.
Oh, wait, can I see for this one then? Because I was a bit confused. Okay, so you have a function that's inside of the class word. Yeah, I think that is fine. Well, to answer your question, sorry. How can you get it so that it can display outside without making it 0? That's strange that they don't let you have message boxes. That's very weird that they don't. Wait, let me see. Wait, can you please just go up to the portion again? Okay. So he wanted you to not change the mark. Could you take it to where it was? So he wanted you to not make it 0 and to instead have told the user that they inputted a wrong thing. Is that what it said?
You're typing and that means you're giving the
Mm-hmm.
and then you're gonna give when you're giving the practical marks
Mm-hmm.
and then you put 110,
Mm-hmm.
it's just going to display 0. It's just going to return 0. The way that I did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to return 0. And they see instead of it just returning 0, let the user know that they put an invalid mark so that they can put it again.
Oh, just put a while loop. Just make it a while loop.
Yeah.
Just make it a while loop. Maybe just make it a while loop. That'll answer the question. So while and then just wait. Actually, wait. Wait. If you, yeah. Let me see. Depending on where you put that while loop. So, okay. Okay. This might cause a slight issue if you put the while loop because it's going to end up as a recursive function if you see it. So let me here. Alright, I'm not showing the people on here, but like, so sorry. Okay. What's going to happen is that you're going to have a while loop. It's going to be while this condition is not met, then have the user keep inputting information. But then how do you assess that now this information is checked? It's only if you call this function again. So it's going to be recursive, which might be a slight issue. And I'll think a little bit more about why. Why? So they marked yours with the message box. This is an example of the tutors thing that I was telling you about, that the tutors are very much dependent. So that, because me, it doesn't make sense why they shouldn't allow, because I can get the text boxes. She did the message box. She put the message box. Let me see.
I'm in a different question.
Yeah.
The one that is 15, is this right? I was told what
Line 60.
Yeah. Practical marks. Practical is between 0 and 100. So it's the
Wait, what's the function? What is it supposed to do?
Suppose to check which you want to do your parameter numbers from 0 to 100.
Okay.
Practical marks.
Okay.
But then tutorial was like, why don't you just return value better than
Okay, but
0 to make bounds.
What happens?
I think it will come back. The generators will cut back in. I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's Oh, okay. Firstly, this is, oh, wait, I don't know which function I'm looking at right now. Are you talking about the one in line 16? Just confirm.
Yeah, so
Line 16.
value Yeah.
Okay, utility that will set only if the function and the value entered is positive. Okay, I can't lie to you. You're using this function very wrong. Like, you're using the function very wrong. Because I'm assuming that you are saying that it'll check if the value is between 0 or 100.
Yes,
and
that's
then, yeah. So you're checking if the value is positive and get.
Yes, and also that is between 0 and 100.
Yeah, no, I get that. But
Yeah.
like, that's what you're trying to do.
Mhm.
But then why are you saying passing it as a Boolean?
It's a utility.
No, like explain a little bit more. Why would you pass it as a Boolean?
I usually go to the Farama Max.
Mm.
Then you check what okay. Max that they are within the range. So it's
No, I understand that. But the thing that you're returning is this. It'll
that's what the lecturer taught us.
no, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's not what's happening. I can show you what's happening if you don't understand. There's a lot of code that's been cut out between this. I'm wondering why would you use it like this? It's not wrong. No, again, it's not wrong. But it's just why would you use it like this? What did your teacher say?
I said why didn't I just return value?
Yeah, why didn't yeah.
You said greater than 0.
Hmm?
You said why didn't you return a value that is greater than 0?
Okay, that's wrong because percentage cannot be 101. But I'm asking why would you put it like this? That's very interesting. It's not wrong, it'll work. It'll work, right? It'll because this is what's happening. This is what's happening. Essentially, this is called a ish. What is it called again? It's not an operand. Yeah, I think it might be called an operand. But what's happening is this is essentially an if statement. It's saying return if this is true. Because at the end of the day, the way that conditions are checked is with a 0 and 1. If it's true, it's a 1, it'll go through. If it's false, it's a 0, it won't go through. So it's saying if this gets a 0, sorry, if it gets a, what is it? Yeah, sorry, no, it should be. Oh, wait, can I check? No, actually, wait, one question before. Can I see where you used it? Can I see where you used it? Oh, yeah, no, that's what I was asking. That's what I was asking. That's what I was asking. Your thing isn't gonna work nicely. It's not gonna work nicely. Because what you're doing right now is you're returning whatever the result of this can be, which is either 1 or 0. Let me write it. Can I write it on here so that everyone else can also see? So this is what the function looks like. I'll just explain it now because that is a very common trap actually. It's a very common. Does your thing work nicely? Can you put a return blah blah? Mm, I don't believe it works pretty nicely actually. I can't lie to you. I don't. Could you try and put a number that would not be inside of this range?
Definitely.
Yeah, and then wait, where'd you use it? When you're capturing the marks. So wait, let me just scroll to this is the class. Okay, this is the student class. It's still the class. Wait, where are you capturing the marks? Could you please scroll to where you're capturing the marks? Here. Yeah, no, I don't trust that actually. I really don't. Okay. So probability property if is index and is value positive, then okay.
I mean, by default, my practical didn't have this, but I had to change it on Thursday after the lecture. I said, yeah, you need to have utilities inside of it.
No. The utility portion isn't wrong. My it's a small function that depends. Depends really.
But that's what part would be something is that like many people are gonna penalize because the way they're coding things need to.
Yeah, no,
So then that's why
okay.
I'm asking you what to keep it show because
Okay.
they say these tutors sometimes they just keep.
Yeah, that's why I was talking about the whole tutors thing.
They don't change, they just change. And when I was put you on the safe side, and
There was an overall average in the PC. Was it the overall average and the practical average? I accidentally used only the overall average and I only the average, and it didn't see it. And I'm like, oh, because I was so sure you was gonna see it. If I
Let me just show you why I'm a bit skeptical about the way that this works. But I'm gonna be teaching you something that you won't learn. But well, you might know it because you did maths, 01. So I'm gonna show you something that you're gonna learn next semester. So it's gonna be logic gates, which is what this if statements, while loops, all of them all are just based off of this thing called logic gates. So I'm throwing it on here just so everyone else can see. I'm just remembering how the signs look like. So when you have like an and, so you'll have this and here, this is literally what it is. So when you have the is positive index and is value index, so it looks like this. So you'll have that first portion, which is the is positive index. I'll just name that A for now. I'll just name it A. And then that is value, what is value positive? I'm just going to name it B. This is an AND gate, which is that if both of these things are true, then it'll happen. Okay. Okay. And then when you have like an OR, it's that if at least one of them is true, then it won't work. Okay, that's fine. The reason that I do believe that there's some flaw in that logic, because when you are going to, this is the OR one, by the way, this is the OR one. This is that if at least one of them is true, then it'll go through. This one, both of them has to be true. Reason that I believe that your code could end up with an error somewhere, I just can't find out the exact way that I'll be able to break it, is because this return just says return the value or the resultant of this statement. That's what this says. Return the resultant of the statement. Don't forget the way that we read statements, the way that we capture conditionals or we read conditionals in coding is that we check it. If it's true and it's true, then we're able to go through. That's the reason I had to draw the and part for it. If this A and this B is true, then it'll run. But if it's an or, if at least one of them is true, then it'll run. So when both of them are true, you will get a 1 for true. But if at least one of them is not true, you will get a 0. This is for the AND gate. This is very specific to the AND gate. But for here, what you're saying is just return what assessing this would be, what value this would return. So if one of them, but let's say we put -5, -5 will make this false, again, which would then make the entire thing false. That means that you're returning 0. That's fine. But now, when you go and input the values, what did you say? I can't go and find the values where you put them. When you go to input the values, you are checking the exact same thing. If this is true and this is true. If you get what I mean. Do you get what I mean? I don't know if you see what the thing that I'm saying is that when you're, where is this? It would be preferable at least just to be 100% sure that when you're inputting that information, say that if that returns a 1. Because if that thing can be anything. Because if, for an example, I started off by saying that that Boolean was false, and then I say, if not that Boolean. So I'm saying if it's not true, then run. But then what case would it be not true if that first statement would be false? That would mean that the number would be negative, which would be backwards. You see what I mean? If you go back, what I'm saying is when you're putting these values, but it's not, I won't say that it's wrong, but there's something about it that I'm interested because of the way that it assesses it. When you are taking those two values, you are checking if those two things are true. If it is true, then return it. If it is false, then if it's true, return a 1. If it is false, return a 0. And get. And that return statement returns the evaluation of it. So if you have a negative number or you have a number above 0, then it'll return a 0 for it. Fine. That's no problem. Let's say, for example, you had started off by saying that everything was false at first. You gave it a default value of false. If you go to what's this called? If you say this, if it starts off at false, I'm just gonna call it checker. It starts off at false. This is what the value of checker is.
Yes.
If you now have your thing, if you have your function, you say if checker, do whatever, this won't run. It won't run because checker is false. You're gonna have to say if checker is not false.
That's the
only one run. Usually when you have just a checker like this, or you have something like this that is a Boolean, the second that you just have if and then don't include anything, it's assuming that it'll only run once this is true. You get me? That's fine. That's fine. Now, let's say for example, checker now is true, but you didn't remove this. Now it's saying that if checker is false, then run it. But you don't want it to run when the number is negative or when the number is over 100. So I'm saying that it would be better for you to write out if checker is equals to 1, because true and false are equal to 1 and 0 is code. So it would be just 100% sure if checker is equals to 1, then do it. Because if checker is 1, then it's true. Instead of ending up in a situation where you might have your checker be the opposite value that you want to, and then you might have something like this that will allow it to happen even though you don't want it to. You get what I mean?
No, I do get it.
It's wrong what I'm saying. It's not wrong at all. It's just more so like it's a very, very delicate thing to do. It's a very, very delicate thing to do. Is what it is.
So
It's not wrong.
what was I supposed to do?
It's not, again, it's not a wrong thing. I'm just saying it's just something for you to look out for. Because I can understand what it means because I've done it before. The lecturer can understand what it means and he can explain because he's done it before. But the thing is, you might not be able to explain why that works. You don't know why that works. So I want to make sure that you understand like the backwards of it. And so that you're not just able to only copy what the lecturer does, but are able to understand why it is and use it in future. Because that return statement thing, you might assume that it might be returning a number, but it's just returning true or false. But you wouldn't be able to know that if you just had that and just took it as if you get what I mean. Because I don't know if you knew when you had that return statement that it was returning true or false. Did you know that? Yeah, this entire statement is, if you can run it right now, you'll see it. This entire thing is just going to return a 0 or 1, which is just true or false. Because you set it to be Boolean. So this is just going to return a 0 or 1. You can even set it to an integer as well. But yeah, no. You can set it as an integer, but then you'll have to say that if it's here, then return 0. If it's there, return 1.
Then I don't why you have to put this thing.
Yeah. But even if you make it like that here, and then you use the checker at the bottom, it'll work the same way because true and false are 0 and 1 at the end of the day. So yeah, it's just this, despite it being an actual number, all just solves out to be a Boolean expression of either 1 or 0, which is why this works. I still believe that there's some code leakage in it, but I can't specify exactly how I can figure it out. But the reason why this works is because of the way that the logic gate thing works. If these things are true, it'll allow you to have a 1 and continue onwards. And that's how every single what's the word? every single conditional statement works for each and all. Sorry, just a slight tangent because this coding style is very short and it's easy up until you don't get what's going on, and then it's very confused. Because technically, if I can show you something right now, hopefully I will get to you in a second. My apologies. If I can show you something right now where I use something exactly like that in my own practical, let me close the recording before I